Let's invite the technical expert, Jai Bala of cashthechaos.com. Jai, always a pleasure having you with us. Thank you very much for sparing time. Well, people told us that there'll be dire consequences if Nifty went below the 23,500 mark. 23,300 is seen as a line on the sand. What's your sense? What can be the range for the first half of 25?
Hi, Lata. Good to be here and good to speak to you after a very long time. I've been maintaining since the end of September that the markets are heading towards the June 4th low, the post-election low of about 21,300 and change. So that's still the higher time frame objective, and the markets haven't done anything to disturb that or put that in question. So the very short term, the markets are either breaking the November low of 23,264 either straight away, or it's going to 24,100, which was the figure I had given last week. The market went to 23,900. So the markets are still in line with breaking the November low. Reliance underperformance continues to be a reason for caution.
Okay. Well, that's the kind of the support, if you please, as you say, 21,300. If you have to look at potential springing up from those lows, what kind do you think 2025 ends with gains? How much?
Yeah, fair question. As of now, I'm working with this being just a correction within the larger bull market. There were three options in front of me. One, I'm taking the least bearish view. For that itself could bring the market down to 21,300. The intermediate supports there on the way to 21,300 is about 22,600, and then 22,000, and then 21,300. But what could happen post that, we have to wait and evaluate. I anticipate the first half of 2025 to be negative. Post that, I anticipate a bullish resumption of the markets and go past the all-time high. But that is just a roadmap. I'm very flexible about it. I'm open to a deeper correction because the signal from the US markets is that the technology stocks have possibly topped and it's due for a very sharp correction. If that were to happen, the IT index, which is not yet broken down, that could break below 41,000. So watch out on the Nifty IT index. 41,000 is very crucial. And as the signal from Bitcoin, a risk-off, risk-on measure, is signaling it's clocked a very important top. I've been pointing that out for the last 2 weeks. I think Bitcoin is likely to halve from the peak value of 108,000. So I'm anticipating about 49,000. So risk off is the signal from the markets.
That's serious. If Bitcoin were to fall so much, then it is going to create ripple effects in all markets. Let's go stock-wise. The winners of this year in the Nifty, at least, has been Trent and M&M. Basically consumer discretionary, if you were a fundamental analyst. Are those continuing to be good bets in terms of charts as well?
Yeah, Trent has been an amazing stock, and I believe it's got a long-term potential, but in the short term, I think it's got corrective downsides to work with somewhere about 5,000 mark. So, it's got a little bit downside. And if you look at the India consumption index, it's got a reversal signature in the medium term. And I pointed out in October, the FMCG index, in my opinion, has clocked a very significant medium to long-term top. So the consumption space isn't actually very positive. I even pointed out the ITC might have clocked a very long-term top. So within that consumption space, things aren't looking bad. But Trent is looking like a very positive candidate within that space. It might be an outperformer there. And what is the other stock you said, Lata?
I asked for M&M, but okay, let me just rephrase. Instead of throwing stocks at you, tell us which stocks or sectors do you think are on the verge of an up move?
Yeah, I think I've been positive on pharma, but pharma as a whole isn't positive now. But right now, Sun Pharma, Lupin, they are looking like they'll be outperformers within the pharma space. But if you look at something like Dr. Reddy's or Cipla, they might have, and Divi's probably, they might have clocked important top. But and I've been bullish on pharma since 2020. So for the first time, I'm selectively turning bearish on some of the pharma names. But, as I said, Sun Pharma, Lupin, and Laurus might be short-term outperformers.
Okay. Any long-term outperformer? I mean, what I mean is anything that looks like turning upward.
Yeah. I have two picks for today. Both are short-term. And I'm cautious on the long side. So play the long side with, if you normally play, say, 1 lakh, you have to come down to something like 10,000. So basically, you have to come to 1/10 of your original position sizing. So with that in mind, I'm bullish on Godfrey Phillips, probably heading for fresh 52-week highs, along with the objective of 6,200 for the short term, and then higher on. Stop loss is 4,700. As far as other stocks which might turn up, I'm a just-in-time guy, so I'll wait for the markets to come towards the June 4th low and then reassess what are likely to turn up. But as long as the Nifty 18 index manages to hold above 41,000, there might be some winners there. TCS excluded. TCS is looking quite weak. I've been bullish on Coforge and Persistent. They're also coming to an important resistance and probably turning down for a correction. But if the markets were to drop like I anticipated, I'll try to turn bullish on the Nifty IT index.
Okay. This year, TCS is up only 9%, and it's underperformed Infosys, which has seen a gain of close to about 20%. And this Q3 would be the third consecutive quarter where Infi's growth rate is expected to be more than that of TCS. But Jai, what about banks, especially large banks like HDFC, where investors are long-term bulls on it? Do you think technically there is support for HDFC Bank?
See, HDFC Bank has closed below an important level that I pointed out last week. That is 1816. And it should not have done that. And SBI, HDFC, and ICICI were the holdouts within the banking sector, which was the reason for outperformance for the banking space. But I think the banking index is set to break down because of HDFC and ICICI. ICICI is set to drop another 5% to about 1,200. HDFC probably dropping to about 1,600. But from a long-term perspective, this looks like a correction within a longer-term bull market. But HDFC could see a deep correction somewhere close to about 1,500, or maybe even 1,300 if things were to get a little more, shaky. But the medium to long-term trend is still up. Probably got one more long-term highs to clock. But before that, it's likely to see a correction to at least 1,500.
Okay. Jai, what about gold and silver? Since you spoke about Bitcoins, it just occurred to me. Gold was making a lot of money for people all the way up to maybe November, and then we started seeing a bit of reverses. How about in 25?
Yeah, the first 2 months are going to be very crucial for precious metals, Lata, because from a long-term perspective, that is mid-2026, I'm anticipating dollar index to clock about 123 to 126. So if that were to be the case, I think gold has already topped out, but that's not my base case. I'm anticipating gold to clock one more higher high, but that's subject to revision depending on what the dollar index does in the first 2 months. Silver, I'm a little more bearish. From a very short-term perspective, I'm anticipating gold and silver to first touch about 2,400 on COMEX, and then about silver to about 27 on COMEX. And then gold might recover to about fresh all-time highs of about 3,000 odds. But as I said earlier, it's subject to revision depending on what the dollar index does in the first 2 months. I'm very bullish on the dollar index. As I pointed out at the beginning of the year to Prashant, 2024 will go down as a year people underestimated the strength of the dollar index. That's exactly what happened. With a very short-term dollar index got one short-term higher high to about 108.85. It's likely to pull back to about 105.5. So if that doesn't happen and dollar were to strengthen much beyond, larger downsides in store for the precious metals.
Okay, 123 did you say for the dollar index? Oh my God, that's something else only. I don't know where it'll take the rupee. Thank you very much, Jai Bala, for making us sit up and look at the levels that we thought were given and tell us that things can get much worse. I know
where it won't take us, and that is abroad.
Okay, you said it. Thank you very much, Jai Bala. Have a great 2025. So we are winding up 2024.